Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, please kindly set your mobile phones to silent mode or vibrate to avoid any interruptions during the program. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. A great honor to welcome you to the International Conference on Education 2025, hosted by the Faculty of Tarbiyah, UIN Sheikh Wasil Kediri, with the theme Bridging the Future, Innovating Education through Adaptive Pedagogies.
Alhamdulillah, all praise is due to Allah, whose guidance and blessings enable us to gather here today to share knowledge, insights, and innovations in the field of education. May peace and blessings be upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Well, let's begin this special day with a warm round of applause for our event.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, to begin with, please allow us to express our deepest gratitude for the presence of our respected leaders.
The Rector of UIN Sheikh Wasil Kediri, Profesor Dr. Haji Wahidul Anam MAG.
The Vice Rectors, along with the Head of Biro.
The Deans of the Faculty of Tarbiyah, Profesor Dr. Hajah Munifah MPD, and the Deans of other faculties.
The Vice Deans.
The Director of the Postgraduate Program.
And the Head of Library.
Your presence is indeed a great privilege for us.
We also warmly welcome our dedicated lecturers, distinguished guests from various institutions, and esteemed speakers joining us virtually or on-site from Indonesia and abroad. Thank you for being with us in this special occasion.
Ladies and gentlemen, as your Master of Ceremony, allow us to briefly share today's agenda.
First, opening.
Second, Holy Quran recitation.
Third, singing of the national anthem, Indonesia Raya.
Fourth, remarks from the organizing committee.
Fifth, welcoming speech from the Dean of the Faculty of Tarbiyah.
Sixth, opening speech from the Rector of UIN Sheikh Wasil Kediri.
Seventh, closing prayer.
And eighth, the core agenda, International Conference on Education 2025.
Well, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to begin our event with blessings, let's recite Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Now, we respectfully invite Miss Fina Roisatul Muna to recite verses from the Holy Quran. The floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار صدق الله العظيم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you for the beautiful recitation. May it bring blessings to our gathering.
Next, singing our beloved national anthem, Indonesia Raya. We kindly invite everyone to rise and join. To Ibu Aulia Rohmawati MPD, the stage is yours. Ladies and gentlemen, you may now be seated. Thank you very much.
Now, we will hear the remarks from the organizing committee, delivered by Mr. Burhanuddin Sharifullah, PhD. Time is yours.
Good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in, amma ba'd. Honorable Director of Universitas Islam Negeri Syekh Wasil Kediri, the Vice Rectors, the Head of the Bureau, Honorable the Dean of the Faculty of Tarbiyah Universitas Islam Negeri Syekh Wasil Kediri, Ibu Profesor Dr. Hajah Munifah MBD, and the Vice Deans, respected keynote speakers, distinguished guests, presenters, and participants, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to express my sincere gratitude and welcome you all to the 3rd International Conference on Education hosted by the Faculty of Tarbiyah, Universitas Islam Negeri Syekh Wasil Kediri. It is such an honor for us to welcome presenters and participants from various parts of Indonesia, from Sulawesi, Sumatra, Kalimantan, and some other parts of Indonesia, and from some other countries, for example, from America, from Cambodia, Malaysia, Pakistan, and also Australia. So this conference is actually conducted annually, and this year is the 3rd International Conference of Education, and we hope that you still can join for next year. We will host the 4th International Conference on Education. This year's themes, Bridging the Future, Innovating Education Through Adaptive Pedagogies, has attracted 150 papers to be presented in parallel sessions today, with 50 papers to be presented on-site and 100 papers will be presented online. In addition, 80 participants come on site today in this place. I believe that it is a hard decision for you all to come to Kediri because of this current situation, but we know that we are now safe in Kediri, and I hope that you are having a memorable experience coming to Kediri. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our keynote speakers today from UIN Syekh Wasil, Profesor Dr. Fatur Rasid MBD, from Universitas Negeri Surabaya, Dr. Alim Sumarno MBD, from University of Sydney, Professor Jaxi Richards, and from Victoria University of Wellington, New Zealand, Professor Avril Coxhead, PhD. We will hear from these distinguished speakers who are at the forefront of education, sharing their insights and also experiences in navigating this evolving landscape. Their stories will inspire us to think critically about how we can adapt our teaching pedagogies and to be prepare our future of our students better. Finally, I would like to thank the Director of UIN Syekh Wasil Kediri, the Dean of the Faculty of Tarbiyah, my fellow committee members, and all the helping hands for making this conference possible. I would also like to thank all presenters from various parts of Indonesia and other countries for their willingness to share their research and also ideas, and all participants for their keen and active participation. I hope that you will have an enjoyable conference and productive time in Kediri and virtually from various parts of Indonesia and other countries, and live with fond memories of conference. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Mr. Burhanuddin Syaifullah, PhD.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, next let's invite the Dean of the Faculty of Tarbiyah, Professor Dr. Haja Munifah, MPD, to deliver her welcoming speech. The stage is yours, Professor.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin, assalatu wassalamu ala asrafil mursalin sayyidina wa maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Honorable Rector of Syekh Wasil Kediri, Vice Rector and Bureau, Vice Dean, keynote speaker, presenter, participant, and esteemed guests. It is both an honor and privilege for me, on behalf of the Faculty of Tarbiyah, Syekh Wasil State Islamic University of Kediri, to warmly welcome all of you to the annual conference organized by Faculty of Tarbiyah UIN Syekh Wasil Kediri, the third International Conference on Education 2025. This year's theme, Bridging the Future Innovating Education through Adaptive Pedagogies, reflect a timely and critical discourse how education must evolve to respond to the complexities of our fast-changing world. This conference represents an important forum for dialogue and collaboration, where scholars, participants, practitioners, and policymakers from diverse faiths come together to exchange insight and share innovative practices. It provides not only a space for the discussion of current challenges in education, but also an opportunity to explore new possibilities, strengthen collaboration, and generate ideas that can shape more inclusive and forward-looking approach to learning in both local and global contexts. So this conference will not only deepen our knowledge, but also strengthen network of collaboration that extend far beyond this event. Lastly, I welcome you once again and invite you to embark on this exciting academic journey together. Hopefully, this conference will be fruitfully enlightening and truly impactful in shaping the future of education. Thank you for your participation and contribution. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Haja Munifah, MPD, for your warm welcome.
Now, it is our privilege to invite Professor Dr. Haji Wahidul Anam, MAG, Rector of UIN Syekh Wasil Kediri, to deliver the opening speech virtually. The time is yours, Professor.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, la haula wa la quwata illa billah ma ba'dah. Yang kami hormati para pimpinan UIN Syekh Wasil Kediri yang hadir hari ini, Pak WR1, Pak Biro, Ibu Dekan, dan seluruh wakil dekan, para kaprodi sekprodi, seluruh peserta, serta seluruh narasumber yang hadir pada hari ini. Pertama, tentu saya sangat bergembira sekali hari ini kita bisa melaksanakan International Conference yang sangat baik sekali dengan mohon maaf ada gangguan sedikit ya, dengan tema yang sangat menarik, Design the Future Innovative Education Through Adaptive Pedagogis. Yang tema ini saya kira sangat bagus untuk mengembangkan pendidikan di masa yang akan datang. Salawat dan salam semoga tak terlimpahkan pada junjungan kita Nabi besar Muhammad SAW yang akan syafaatnya nanti pada yaumil qiyamah. Bapak Ibu yang sangat saya hormati, para seminar internasional, mohon maaf saya tidak bisa hadir secara langsung karena ada tugas Rilabdik di Kendari sampai hari Kamis. Pertama, atas nama pimpinan ICOE Kediri, saya mengucapkan selamat kepada Fakultas Tarbiyah yang telah mengadakan kegiatan ini. Dan ini tentu kegiatan sangat baik. Ada beberapa narasumber dari berbagai negara yang ini akan menambah khazanah pengembangan pendidikan di Indonesia, khususnya di UIN Syekh Fasil Kediri. Bapak Ibu yang sangat saya hormati, tantangan pendidikan ke depan ini sangat kompleks. Apalagi pasca COVID-19. Ya. Ini anak didik kita, baik di tingkat pertama, di tingkat pendidikan pemula, di tingkat SD, sekolah dasar, kemudian di tingkat sekolah menengah atas, ini karakternya jauh berbeda ketika sebelum COVID. Mereka mengenal media sosial dengan baik, mereka mengenal dunia luar dengan luar biasa, sehingga mereka bisa mengakses sumber-sumber pendidikan, mengakses sumber-sumber belajar yang ini kadang-kadang melampaui daripada pendidik itu sendiri. Oleh karena itu pada kesempatan hari ini saya berharap seminar ini bisa menelurkan satu kajian bagaimana strategi pembelajaran, strategi pendidikan di era kontemporer ini, era serba digital ini, sehingga anak-anak kita ini bisa belajar dengan baik, guru-guru kita ini bisa menyesuaikan dengan kebutuhan anak-anak kita di masa sekarang dan yang masa akan datang. Saya kira itu poin daripada seminar ini, dan tentu ini penting untuk kita kaji terus karena ini tantangan di Fakultas Tarbiyah, terutama di prodi Tadris Bahasa Inggris, ya, kemudian Bahasa Arab, yang saya kira dengan adanya berbagai macam alat-alat ya, yang sebagai alat bantu untuk belajar bahasa, maka ini strategi pembelajaran ini perlu ditingkatkan dan perlu ada inovasi. Saya berharap para narasumber, para mahasiswa, para pegiat pendidikan di Syekh Fasil ini bisa mengembangkan strategi pembelajaran, media pembelajaran, sehingga nanti ke depan pembelajaran kita ini sesuai dengan konteks dan sesuai dengan kebutuhan anak didik kita. Saya kira itu yang perlu saya sampaikan, Bapak-Ibu sekalian. Mohon maaf saya tidak bisa berlama-lama karena ini sedang asesmen lapangan. Dengan mengucapkan Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, International Conference tahun 2022 ini saya nyatakan dibuka dan dimulai dengan bacaan basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Kurang mohon maaf. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor, for your inspiring words.
Well, to conclude the opening sessions, let us join in prayer led by Professor Dr. Haji Iskandar Sani, MPD. The stage is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Al-Fatihah. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa sallim wa radiyallahu ta'ala kulli sahabati Rasulullah ajmain walhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Allahumma ighfir lana wa liwalidina warhamhuma kama rabbayana shighara. Allahumma anfa'na bima 'allamtana wa 'allimna ma yanfa'una warzuqna ilman yanfa'una. Allahumma arzuqna fahma nabiyyin wa hifdzal mursalin wa ilhama malaikatikal muqarrabin. Rabbana zidna ilman warzuqna fahman. Rabbana hab lana min azwajina wa dhurriyyatina qurrata a'yun waj'alna lil muttaqina imama. Rabbana atina min ladunka rahmah wa hayyi' lana min amrina rasyada. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzabannar. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for leading us in prayer.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the core of our event, the third International Conference on Education 2025, with the theme, Bridging the Future, Innovating Education through Adaptive Pedagogies.
We are truly honored to present our distinguished keynote speakers.
First, Profesor Dr. Fatur Rashid MPD from UIN Syekh Wasil Kediri, Indonesia.
Second, Dr. Alim Sumarno MPD from the State University of Surabaya, Indonesia. And the two honorable guests we have been looking forward to welcoming.
Professor Avril Coxhead MA PhD from Victoria University of Wellington, New Zealand.
And Professor Jack C. Richards from University of Sydney, Australia.
Let us warmly welcome them.
Well, this esteemed scholarly session then will be moderated by moderators.
Before we hand over to our moderators, allow us, as your master of ceremony, to sincerely apologize for any shortcomings during this program. I am Syahrul Erfal Faruriza
and Renita Donasari. Thank you for your kind attention and active participation. May today's conference bring valuable insights for the future education. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Well, now we kindly invite the university leaders and distinguished speakers to the stage for the photo group. With the all audiences, please stand up. We will take a photo together. Please kindly stand up. we kindly invite the moderator, Ibu Nur Afifi, and Applied Linguistic PhD, to the stage. Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning all. How are you today? Okay, good. Okay, today we have a very special guest, a very special keynote speaker, Professor April Coxhead, PhD, from New Zealand. If you in the field of English language teaching, I'm sure that you know academic word list, which is very well known worldwide, and she's actually the inventor of that AW. Professor Jack C. Richards. He's a very well known, maybe most of us have his book on curriculum, and it's has a very long history in TESOL. Okay, hello, Professor Richard. How are you? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you well.
Okay, good. Fine. I'm fine, thank you. I'm all set here.
Okay.
Just wanted that my voice is clear and the images that we were using through the PowerPoint are also going to be visible to everybody.
Okay, let me read your bio first for the audience. The technician, can you please put Professor Richard to... Okay, in the spotlight already, okay. Well, Professor Jack C. Richard, PhD, University level Quebec, has had an active career in the Asia Pacific region and has held chair professor positions at the University of Hawaii, City University of Hong Kong, and the University of Auckland. So not only from university, but from 3 universities. He is currently an honorary professor in the Faculty of Education at the University of Sydney. He has also had a long association with the Regional Language Center in Singapore. He has written over 150 books and articles on language teaching, as well as many widely used classroom texts. His recent publications include articles and books on language teacher identity and English medium instruction, or EMI. Jack Richards also has active interest in music and the arts. He has been awarded an honorary doctorate of literature by University of Victoria, Wellington, for his service to education and the arts, and also received the award of patronage from the Arts Foundation of New Zealand. The International TESOL organization honored Jack Richards as one of the 50 TESOL specialists worldwide to have made a significant impact on language teaching in the last 50 years. Okay, now please welcome Professor Jack C. Richards. Today, the title will be The Future of the Past in Language Teaching. The floor is yours, Professor.
Thank you. Can you see the PowerPoint slides come up?
Not yet, Professor.
Once we get the slides up, then I'll be able to start.
Should we operate from here for the slides, Professor?
Yes, you operate from
Okay.
there, yes. Yeah. We cannot operate from here. That's why we had the practice session yesterday.
Yes, sorry about that.
Uh, wait for a bit, Professor. The technician still work on it.
All right. While you're getting the slides ready, I'll just give a little introduction to what I want to cover in my talk, which is the title of The Future of the Past. So I'll be looking back at sort of traditional ways of approaching teaching, and then look at how learning is moving beyond the classroom, both through strategies that successful language learners use to access opportunities to learn English outside of the classroom, and then we're looking at new developments in AI and digital technology and how these are also changing the dynamics of English language teaching and the future directions of teaching, as I understand it. How are we getting on with the slides? Still no sign of those slides? I do need them for my talk. Let's see what's happening.
Okay, now we are in the slides, yes.
Okay, thank you. So I'll be telling you when to move the slides.
Okay.
So if you just to the next slide, please. This is an overview of what I'll be covering. Next slide. I'll be looking at how language teaching was carried out. You're going too fast. Go back. I'll
Sorry.
tell you when to change.
Okay, sorry about that.
So the focus will be how language teaching was carried out and to compare the role of classroom-based teaching and out-of-class learning. So that's what I'll be doing in the talk. So let's look first of all at the past and look at how language teaching has been carried out in the past, and perhaps in some contexts even still carried out today. Next slide, please. If we think of if you like, old-fashioned classrooms, and I hope you don't see too many of those in Indonesia today, but the features the goals were to give learners a basic introduction to English through exercises in grammar and so on. The size of the class was large, kind of teacher-dominated, the teacher going through the textbook exercises and the blackboard and so on. Repetition and dictation would have been important teaching techniques and frequent use of the mother tongue as well. Now, from my research on the internet, I'm trying to find examples of how traditional language teaching is still carried out. The next slide, please. The next slide. Here, the first one, by the way, is from Indonesia, and I hope it's not still true, but you'll see the comments there of observers looking at teacher-dominated lesson based on the textbook, grammar and traditional activities, teacher explanation, and so on. Oral work, mainly teacher questions plus some choral chanting. The next example is from China, and this is a very recent observation that I found in the report. Students start in primary school. English is mainly focused on vocabulary, grammar, reading and writing, while speaking is often neglected. Mainly test preparation. Let's go to the next slide. Next slide. This would be an observation in Thailand, which grammar and conversation worksheets with lists of rules, and then something there at the bottom from Japan. So the example that I've given there, the examples there remind us that in the past, the classroom was the primary context in which people were introduced to English and were taught English. So the classroom was a sort of self-contained universe, providing all the necessary input through the syllabus, through the textbook, through the practice exercises, and so on. And little acknowledgement was made of the fact that learners could learn beyond the classroom. And anyway, in the past, there would have been fewer resources available. Prior to the internet and prior to digital technology, not so many opportunities to learn English beyond the classroom. Some of our contemporary language teaching methods also seem to reflect the idea that the classroom is the primary context for language learning. And if you look at things like task-based teaching, the teacher's role is to sort of micromanage classroom processes, providing activities, resources, and guidance to support learning. Very little is often said about the role of classroom learning beyond the classroom. And so in these contexts, the teacher has to be very creative, and using some of the creative ideas that Professor Oxhead was just sharing with you there. But no matter how creative a teacher is, one of the basic problems is that there's not really enough time in the curriculum to really bring students to the level that they need to reach to be able to use English beyond the classroom. The next slide, please. So looking at what happens in Europe, even in Europe, a study, well, it's a few years now, but I don't think it's changed, that the total learning time in classrooms, foreign language classrooms, is about 3 hours a week. And there, if you look at the Cambridge exam specifications for how much time is required to reach different proficiency levels based on the Cambridge exams, you see that to get to A2, about 180 to 200 words, B1, to get to C1, the advanced level, 700 to 800 hours is given there as the time needed to reach level C1 in the Cambridge English exams. But of course, that chart, as interesting as it is, doesn't acknowledge the fact that it really also depends on the learner's language background. Could we have the next slide? And the US Defense Department has language training schools around the United States, and here is an estimation of the amount of time needed to reach an intermediate level in English, but depending on the learner's language background. And as you can see, for Romance or Germanic languages like French or Dutch, many fewer hours are needed to reach an intermediate level compared to students whose first language might be Chinese, Japanese, or Korean. 800 to 1700 hours there. Now, the quantity of time, of course, is not the whole picture, because it's not only how much time is available, but how that time is used. Let's look at the next slide, please. How classroom time is used. And it's sometimes useful to distinguish between what you can call allocated time, that is the time in the timetable, 40 to 50 minutes for a lesson, maybe 3 times a week. But of those 50 or 40 minutes, the actual amount of teaching time might be much less because of giving out homework or giving instructions or announcing this and that. It might be down to 30 to 40 minutes of classroom time. And then of that 30 to 40 minutes, how much of that time are students actively engaged in a learning activity? It might be only 20 to 30 minutes. And how effective are they learning from that time spent might only be 15 to 20 minutes. So the point is there's much less time available than the time suggested by the length of the lesson in the timetable. And in fact, many teachers find that they don't manage to spend more than 80% of their allocated time on actual classroom teaching. They have so many other issues to deal with. So what is the solution? Because if that's the case, the learning outcomes are going to be very minimal. And in fact, they are. If you go to countries, as I do quite often, like, no, just hold it, okay. If you go to countries like Korea and Japan and try to talk to people who are in surface encounters, like in shops and restaurants and department stores and transport situations and so on, many of them cannot manage a single word or conversation in English, despite having 6 years of English at high school or longer, mainly because so little time was available and they never did anything beyond what happened in the classroom. And yet, on the other hand, if I were at your conference there today, I'm sure I'd meet many people who are absolutely fluent in English and who have made use of opportunities outside of the classroom. I think successful learners realize that they have to look for opportunities beyond the classroom to compensate for the limitations of what's available in the classroom, no matter how effective the classroom teacher is and how creatively he or she uses those 20 minutes that are available or 30 minutes that are available. More opportunities needed to be looked for and to be made use of. And hence, we need to look at what are the learning opportunities available outside of the classroom. Here, I think we need to distinguish between formal learning and informal learning. Formal learning refers to planned and organized learning activities in the classroom. That's what the teacher does. That's an example of formal learning. And informal learning is learning in context other than the classroom. And informal learning opportunities are typically managed by the learner. They may be intentional or planned, as well as unplanned and incidental. So, for example, a student using an application to improve her pronunciation would be an example of the choice of an intentional activity. Other informal activities may also result in learning. For example, watching movies on television and using the subtitles, for example, to help understand the action of a movie. And that way, students pick up idioms, conversational expressions, and so on. What I have often done, I think it'd bring that slide up a little there. It's half of it is not on the screen as far as I can see. What I often do in occasions where I have to meet teachers, let's go ahead. Next slide, please. Next. Okay. And then the next
Sorry,
one
it seems there's a lag in there, Professor.
Next one.
Yes, it's already in slide 10 in my screen.
The next slide, please. Oops, you've got a bit of a problem there.
Yes, it seems there's a lag over there.
Next one, after that. Next one.
Is single.
Next slide.
Yes.
What I do when I have the opportunity to meet successful users of English is to find out what language learning opportunities they made use of outside of the classroom. Because more often than not, successful users of English, like yourselves, will tell me, will share with me a variety of things that they remember doing to help accelerate their learning of English. Could we have the next slide?
Sorry, Professor, it's a technical problem. It's already in slide 10 in my screen, but in Zoom, it's still in slide 9. Let me see. Select.
All right. For example, a student I interviewed recently, who was very fluent in English, experienced his introduction to English in a very similar way to the examples of traditional language learning that I mentioned earlier. He took matters into his own hands. He was highly motivated to learn both English and also French. And for him, the three most useful activities were watching TV shows and movies, watching YouTube clips, and learning songs. There we go. And as he says there, TV and movies help the most because you have plenty of conversation between characters, and they usually speak in a correct manner. This is Danilo, this Chilean student. He also talks about the fact that in Chile, the way English is taught in schools is not particularly useful, and most of the people that he knows in Chile who speak English well, like him, took language learning into their homes, learned English by themselves, if you like. So, unlike classroom learning, out-of-class learning is not based on a syllabus. It may not have specific goals in mind, although sometimes the learner may choose an activity with a specific goal in mind, as with the next example of the use of an app by Ming, a Chinese learner of English who wanted to be able to talk about sport in English. Could we have the next slide? Yep. So this young student started playing digital basketball games on his PC and talks about enjoying the in-game audio commentaries and jokes and reading all the instructions and so on. So through the audio commentaries and on-screen texts, he was able to memorize words, develop a vocabulary that he could use in talking about sports with other student friends. So he found it a lot easier to understand the conversation with his international friends about sport. In fact, the other day I was traveling on a train in France, and behind me was a parent and a child, and they must have been playing some sort of video game. I could hear them talking, but I couldn't see who they were, but it was obviously a very young child. And the father was, the instructions for the game were all in English. So these people were both speaking French, but the child was saying the words on the screen and the instructions on the screen, and father was helping him pronounce them and explaining what they meant. So there's a good example too of us starting at a very early age, a young child using some sort of video game in English and determined to understand and play the game and to learn the English necessary to do so. Next slide, please. Many people talk about the power of watching TV series and the role of the TV series called Friends, which was a very popular television series worldwide for many years, and which indeed is still used by many teachers to help their students improve their English. One adult described how the TV series helped him. He says, "Memory is an incredible thing. I can still recite punchlines from the episodes I haven't seen in 20 years. I can also remember who I talked with about those episodes." And a school director in Japan commented, "One of the reasons we believe Friends is the best TV show is because it's a perfect concept. It's about a group of friends sit around a cafe and talk about life's ups and downs." The member of the Korean boyfriend BTS, but the boy band BTS, said that Friends is widely used, particularly by mothers in South Korea, to encourage their children interested in learning English. And he said that he'd watched all 10 seasons of the Friends series at least 5 times. Next slide, please. So, other informal experiences here, mentioned by some of the fluent speakers of English that I have interviewed. One boy talks about whenever I saw a tourist, I would try my best not to be shy and talk to them. Talking to strangers happened mostly on Yahoo Messenger when chatting with people around the world. Another one's this one from Cambodia. I think I learn more through communicating with foreigners. I often approach foreigners that I met to speak with them. And on the next slide. So what I want to do is to make a distinction between the classroom curriculum and the learner curriculum. So the classroom curriculum refers to what goes on in the school classroom, and it typically consists of the language items that were practiced, the skills that were covered in the syllabus, and the kind of activities the teacher used to teach and test. We can compare this with the learner curriculum, which are used to refer to activities learners make use of to manage their own learning beyond the classroom. Next slide, please. So this is a typical example of what you might call the classroom curriculum. These are the sort of things that we see in traditional classrooms, practicing grammar, drills, and memorizing word lists, that sort of thing. And then if we look at the learner curriculum based on conversations with successful users of English, if we look at the next slide, we see examples of the learner curriculum. These are examples just from one learner that I interviewed recently, an Iranian English teacher with very advanced English skills, and he's able to identify things that he did early on in his learning experiences and learning songs, practicing words, playing video games, singing aloud, and so on. And then the next step, talking to foreigners, conversational exchanges, watching TV shows, and so on. So that's an example, if you like, of the learner curriculum and how it differs from the classroom curriculum. Now, in the past, successful learners often moved between 2 different universes and there was no connection between them. They either learned English in the classroom or they learned English outside of the classroom, where the focus was on learning language for its use in communication. And of course, ideally, a language course provides both sources of learning. They're integrated rather than existing in isolation from one another. But today, through the resources of the internet, digital technology, and AI, teachers and learners now are very different from learners in the past. The technology and the internet have brought these two sources of learning, the classroom and beyond the classroom, closer together. And this is what I want to talk about in the remainder of the time available to me, to look at the resources of digital technology, the internet, and artificial intelligence. Now, an activity that I like to use sometimes involving the mobile phone is listed there. And if we were doing this in a workshop, if I were there with you, I would ask you to take out your mobile phones, to go to your photo gallery, and to turn to the person next to you and ask those kinds of questions. A very simple activity that a mobile phone makes possible, and I'm sure you have you'd all agree that you couldn't live today without having your mobile phone handy. So it is also a resource and enables us to do things in the classroom that we couldn't do before this technology was invented. Now, of course, artificial intelligence, AI tools, have been around for many years. It's, although we hear a lot about it these days, many of us are used to and familiar with AI-based apps and so on that are useful in many different ways for teachers. Let's have a look at the next slide. For example, these apps and resources can be used for the sorts of things that I list there: assessing students' proficiency, giving feedbacks on pronunciation, providing captions for videos, access to authentic content, and so on. So, of course, as a teacher, you could do these kinds of things on yourself, but doing so might take a large amount of time. So AI and digital tools can provide a quick and easy solution using your, leaving more time for use more productively in the classroom. And of course, new forms of AI and new apps are appearing almost every day. And some of them, of course, are promoted as having huge potential for language teaching. And YouTube is full of videos with headlines like we see in the next slide. Before we get to that, an example of one of the teachers I interviewed, how he uses ChatGPT when on his first day in class. He gets information from his students, they fill out a little questionnaire, and then he uses ChatGPT to rewrite their biographies as if they were all secret agents. And just a fun example there of a creative teacher using ChatGPT to create little interesting and engaging texts describing the students in his class. Let's have a look at the next slide. So if you go to the internet or go to YouTube, you'll see headlines like these claiming that ChatGPT, is going to, in a sense, replace language teachers. Of course, it's not, but it does enable us to do things that will extend opportunities for learning beyond the classroom. Let me just give you an example before I move to the next slide of how you can use ChatGPT with a textbook. Before I get to the support for teachers. For example, just leave it there. Yeah, just leave it there, support for teachers. Yeah, just leave it there. Thank you. One thing you can do with ChatGPT is you can go back to a unit that the students have just studied, and you might, for example, choose 10 verbs from the unit and ask ChatGPT to write a song using those words, or write a poem. You could go back to a dialogue in the textbook and ask ChatGPT to add another speaker to the dialogue, or to extend the dialogue, or to write a written summary of what was said in the dialogue. You can take a reading text from the unit and ask ChatGPT to turn it into a spoken text, or to summarize it, or to make a closed passage based on the text. So there's lots and lots of things you can do with something as simple as ChatGPT that make language learning more engaging, and also take language learning out of the classroom, because students can do these things themselves. But let's look at some of the support that AI can offer. First of all, in terms of support for teaching, I don't know whether you know some of these apps. Magic School is a great one, which creates lesson plans and provides rubrics and so on for assignments or projects. The rubric generator creates a rubric for tests, and the text generator can generate a little text based on a specific topic of your choice. And also Content Samurai generates original videos by automatically converting text into video content, complete with visuals and so on. And podcasts can be used to generate an original audio content by converting a text into natural sounding voice recordings. Let's have a look. The next slide. For mixed level classes, the Magic School app can make different versions of a text at different difficulty levels using the text level function of the Magic School app. And also the text scaffolder, which comes also with Magic School, can provide definitions of keywords for pre-teaching and can also write questions to guide students through a text as a first reading task before the lesson. I should mention that most of these apps were really designed for North American schools, not for ESL, not for English as a second language students, but they're equally useful for ESL teachers. And many schools have a budget that enables teachers to recommend what apps the school should buy, because some of them have some features that are free, and some of them, of course, you have to pay for. These products take time and money to develop. So the developers and marketers of these apps obviously want to get a return on their investment. So not everything is free. Let's look at the next page there. Quizzes. The Conquer app is something that creates unique quizzes and tests with a range of different question types, just with a few clicks. So you can make your own quiz or adapt an existing one. You can upload a text, choose a question type, and choose the number of questions, and then choose the grade level. TWE is another app for generating questions, and it enables you to do some of the things that I list there. Generate questions for YouTube video, dialogues, multiple choice questions, and so on. So just a brief list of examples of some of the things that these different apps can make teaching more fruitful and time-saving for teachers. What about learners themselves, apps that the students can use? Next slide, please. One of the important functions that AI provides is that it supports what are called adaptive learning platforms. These personalize language learning experience of individual students. So they analyze students' performance, and then they direct them to recommendations for their specific needs. And some of you will be familiar with some of these apps that have been around for a long time, like Babbel, Rosetta Stone, and Duolingo, which are examples of these kinds of apps. One that I've discovered recently is in China. We'll have the next slide, which is called Liulushu, which means speak fluently. And this is a mobile app with over 200 million registered users, and it uses AI speech recognition technology to evaluate the user on their pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary, and fluency. And then the system gives them individualized instructions to improve their English using their scores in the 4 skill areas. And if we go down a little bit there, we'll see the claim. Just go down a bit further. Yep. So as it says there, after completing the test, the system selects a starting level for each user, so that the app gives it a sort of proficiency test, diagnostic test, and then directs the students to something that's appropriate for their level. And the poster that I saw on the subway said, I'm my AI teacher's one and only favorite student, and I'm addicted to learning English. Now, we can also, next slide, please. AI and other AI-generated apps also provide support for grammar and therefore skills. One online app, which is called VoiceThread, can help students improve their pronunciation and speaking skills. A teacher that I spoke to said she uses VoiceThread to improve her learners' speaking skills in preparation for the Cambridge proficiency exams. The students are assigned a topic, asked to prepare a short recording on the topic, and about 2 minutes, and then upload it to a restricted area on the VoiceThread app. Once all of the recordings have been uploaded, the teachers and learners listen and record their comments. So it becomes interactive, and they can do those things outside of class, so it doesn't take up any class time. The next slide, please. In terms of reading skills, another teacher I spoke to makes use of social media to develop the students' reading ability. So she takes news stories and articles from the TV or from newspaper reports and asks the students to read them at home as a homework task. They're asked to choose one each week, and she creates a blog where students upload comments on the story that they've read, and they share their comments with other classmates. And she makes use of different forms of interaction with students on their blogs and with different social media tools such as VoiceThread, for example, and microblogging such as Facebook. Another slide. There's also an AI content generator known as Copy AI, where students can create their own stories based on keywords. And I saw a very interesting example of this in an article recently, where a teacher is teaching elementary school students, basic students, English at a basic level. And rather than depending on the government textbooks or the class textbooks, she had students make their own stories. So they can choose the type of story they want, whether it be comedy, action, mystery, or a song, and whether the story should have very easy words, short sentences, and be written in a witty, friendly, or professional way. And so students choose a topic, create their stories, and then share them. And they're reviewed by the teacher and used as a basis for reading practice. So the students create their own stories using the app. Pronunciation skills, perhaps on the next slide. Using TED Talks. A teacher I frequently encounter at conferences like yours today from Japan has described to me how he makes use of the use of TED Talks. I wonder if you know or are familiar with TED Talks. They are widely available on different topics. They are sort of lectures, talks on different topics by people, different difficulty level, different styles of presentation. And he assigns students to watch a TED Talk, to choose a TED Talk of interest, to write a 300-word summary of each talk, and to prepare PowerPoints of it with their iPad. And then when they come to class, they share the content of each talk with their classmates. Communication practice. Let's just look to the next slide. Next slide, please. Communication practice. I saw a presentation at a conference recently where a teacher was using virtual reality tools, especially designed for real-time language teaching. And so the app that she was using, I think it's called Immerse Me, asked students to choose a scenario. It might be a home, a restaurant, an art studio, an apartment, in which they physically move around that space manipulating objects. They might be preparing a meal, choosing items to make for dinner, for example. And in each lesson, the students take part in different interactive activities. For example, in the art studio, they may have to describe a painting on a wall, and others have to guess which one it is. Or in a home scene, students can hang and arrange pictures on a wall, cook dinner on the stove in the kitchen, and wash the dishes afterwards. So this is an attempt to make use of VR, virtual reality tools, as a resource for language learning. That may seem a little far-fetched, but let's have a look at conversation practice. So interaction, of course, is the key process in language learning, and now many AI chatbots are trying to incorporate interaction with the user. So they're trying to simulate human-like natural conversations with the user through text or voice. And of course, ChatGPT, as I mentioned, can provide opportunities for interactive language practice, to practice conversation with responses and feedback based on the student's input, and can be used for supplementary tools for speaking and writing practice, allowing students to practice their language skills in a controlled and supportive environment. They can also get feedback and corrections which could be valuable for their later language development. So, in the case of my own textbooks, for example, the series that I have been involved with for many years, Interchange, and also one called Four Corners, are both going forward to new editions in 2027. And I've had conversations with some of the editors in Cambridge University Press to say how can we have a ChatGPT or similar app task in every unit of the kind that I mentioned earlier. For example, supposing you ask the students to choose 10 nouns from the unit, and then ask ChatGPT to create a crossword puzzle using those nouns, or other words, for example, or take a dialogue from the textbook and ask ChatGPT to extend the dialogue, to add another speaker to the dialogue, and so on. So lots of things that ChatGPT can be used for to extend conversation practice from the textbook into other situations. Can we go to the next slide? And I don't know whether we can go online just to have a look at something I would like you to see on YouTube. We'll see if that comes up. And if it does, I'll say some comments about it. We did have a trial run of this yesterday, and we did manage to get it to work. I won't say anything about it yet until we get it up online, because it's quite intriguing. Let's see how the technical team there are able to get access to this YouTube clip there. Is that going to work, or... Oops, something's happening there. Let's see what happens next. We're just trying to go live to YouTube to see if we can bring up something that I wanted you to have a look at. Oops, we're getting close. Let's see what happens next. I'm not sure that it's... yes, here we go. So here, we'll see if this is... What do you think's going on here? Let's just watch this for a little while. It's in Korean, but that doesn't matter. I just want you to look at the situation and see if you can tell me what's happening there. Jumped into something else. So we did have it there briefly. Let's see if we can try one more time. The glories of technology, especially across time and space. Let's see, we'll try one more time. Oops, this is it. So we've got this people here looking at, they're looking with amazement at, they're in a room, aren't they? And can we get that moving? And they're watching somebody the other side of the room. Looks like YouTube's trying to sell us a subscription. Just watch that. Here we go. So they're all looking there. What are they doing? And this man's talking to them, laughing and chatting, and he seems to recognize them. They're all sitting there in astonishment, aren't they? We'll stop there. That's enough. That gives you a little flavor of this particular AI resource, we could go back to the slides now and let me tell you what that is and why I think it's important. Just hold it there. That little clip there is an example of what is called a death bot or a grief bot. That means the situation was based on somebody who had passed away, and AI had been used to recreate an image of the man, an avatar of the man talking. The information about the participants was also built into the system so that the avatar could recognize and talk to people and say, how are you and how are the children and so on. Now, this is apparently an emerging use of AI in some countries. People would like to be able to communicate with departed friends or departed family members, and the AI makes use of whatever images are available, whatever video that might be available, any information that could be provided, and it creates a lifelike replication of that person, which we call an avatar. And the one you saw was a man who had passed away, apparently having a conversation with some family members. Please go back, we're not ready for the implications yet. Just go back a bit further, yeah. You'll see here also, if you look at that clip on YouTube, that it shows a robot teaching German students. My thoughts about looking at that so-called death bot, that avatar, was that an avatar of that sort could be built around an English teacher teaching elementary students, because a lot of time in language learning involves establishing the foundations of vocabulary and grammar and word and sentence formation and so on. It takes a lot of time for students to build up a repertoire of words, of phrases, expressions, and so on. Much of the teaching of that could be done by an avatar of the kind that I just showed you briefly in that clip from YouTube of the avatar of the man talking to relatives, the man who since passed away. I was thinking about that and how its potential uses could be in language teaching, and then I discovered that in fact the BBC have developed a course on writing, a writing course taught by Agatha Christie, the famous writer of detective stories. And if you look at it on the BBC site, you'll see what appears to be Agatha Christie teaching an introductory course on creative writing using an avatar based on images of Agatha Christie and any video and filmed input that they have been able to make. And so you have a lifelike replication of Agatha Christie teaching a writing course. Well, the same could be done for English teaching. The question is, of course, who's going to pay to develop such a resource? And I'm sure it will happen in the future, that much of the mundane aspects of language teaching can be conducted by an avatar, relieving the real teacher to meet with the students who've worked with this avatar AI resource independently at home. When they come to class, they've already got a reservoir of knowledge, of skills, basic knowledge of skills and so on, and the classroom experience can move them forward, drawing on the resources that they've learned through that resource. So let's just have a look at some of the implications there. If we go forward there, one of the implications are that that's good, that the distinction between classroom-based teaching and out-of-class teaching are becoming less distinct. In other words, that the same device can be used for the same purpose in both settings, as both a component of both classroom-based formal learning as well as out-of-class informal learning. They both feed into each other. For example, a teacher told me that his students enjoyed using the Duolingo application. They found it fun, so he made use of it in his English classroom. He even found that low achiever students were motivated to learn English because of it, and they could choose activities that matched their English skills. Another pair of teachers described how they invite their intermediate level learners to search out online resources on the internet that they find useful, to write about them in a blog post and to present them to their class and ask their peers to rate them. And those with the highest rating are developed into learning modules, bridging the divide between classroom learning and out-of-class learning. Another teacher described how he uses WhatsApp both in class and out of class to collaborate on group projects, discuss ideas, share files, and work together on assignments. During class time, the students and the teacher communicate one-to-one using WhatsApp. If a student has a question about a particular topic, they can reach out to the teacher on WhatsApp without disturbing other students. So for teacher educators such as myself, one of the implications is that we have to bring these resources into our teacher education courses so that teachers are familiar with what's available and know how to use them creatively and effectively. Some of the ways this can be done, let's have a look on our next slide there. Just the next one, we'll just go on to the next one. Professor Robert Godwin-Jones gave some useful recommendations at a recent conference in Singapore as to how teachers can update their knowledge and skills in relation to the use of AI resources in language teaching, and attend workshops to learn about what's out there and what tools might be useful, to find out what your colleagues are doing, because in any school you'll find some people who are already very keen and familiar with using some of the AI resources that they discovered. Make use of opportunities to learn about new developments through YouTube. There's lots of very good YouTube presentations on use of ChatGPT and other apps, for example. There are podcasts and teacher-oriented groups in social media. Professor Jones mentions also focus on ways that technology could support or improve your classroom practices, and try these things out to get the perspective of students. And lastly, to share some of the information that you have got with other teachers and learn from each other. So conferences like the ones you're attending today, I'm sure will contain presentations on the use of AI in teaching English and other subjects, and I hope that you will make the most of the opportunities available to you through this conference today and in the future to capitalize on the new resources, the new opportunities are available to learners and to teachers to improve the opportunities we provide to our learners for language learning, I should say. Thank you very much. We may have time for comments, and please let me know if you've got some suggestions that you could pass on to the rest of us. Thank you.
Wow, that is a lot of knowledge and very handy information.
Yeah, please share the slides, the text, with anybody who wants some of those references there. They can have the slides and the
Sure,
information
Professor.
there.
We will share with the participants. Yep. Okay, now come to the question and answer. Is there any question for Professor Jacques Richards for now?
Or anything they can share, any experiences?
Oh yeah, you can also share your experience in language teaching, not only English maybe, because we have Arabics and Indonesian too here.
If I were to ask any of you there, what were the two things that you think most account for your success as a user of English? What are the two ways that you made use of that can account for how well you speak English?
So anyone want to share what the two things that make you fluent in speaking English?
Yeah. I mean, I would love to think it was the books you used, and particularly my books, but I wouldn't make that claim, because no matter how well people use my books, I know that they're only a springboard to what things they do on their own. And it's the things they do on their own, beyond the classroom, beyond the textbook, that are of most interest to me. And now, as I mentioned, there's so many other opportunities with AI and so on, that the world, the whole learning context is much richer. So I'd like to know, maybe some of you have got some examples of things that triggered your ability to use English or other languages and be as effective as you are as speakers of English or other languages.
Any experience? Anyone want to share experience? Bu Salma? Bu Salma is fluent in English and also Pak Edwin, maybe they can share the experience.
Good morning, Professor. Is it audible?
Hello.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, let me try to share you a little bit about my experience when I try to teach my students. Sometimes they're going to be difficult to get the context of the vocabulary. Yeah. Sometimes we deliver, but it's going to be like sparable, so that it's not integrated. So that when I want to apply to the speaking or to the outcome, it's going to be a little bit difficult for them to apply it, Professor. Yeah, so, but I don't think that we have adequate module or some kinds like textbook which can support this kind of problem. So that is there any other way maybe from you? Beside having the textbook?
Well, I think, as I say, we have to go beyond the textbook and out into the internet and to, social media and watching simple YouTube presentations and so on. Really, that's where the learning will take place. Once the learners find something of interest that's accessible to them on the internet, through YouTube, through movies and songs, for example. And many of the students, the teachers I've spoken to, when I asked them where did they start, I gave you that example earlier on, they told me it was songs. Well, the first thing they mentioned is learning English songs. Okay. And that gets their tongue around some of the sounds of English and some of the pronunciation and intonation of English, and then they move on from there. So it's a question of, I think I showed a slide there of one teacher describing, one speaker of English describing the first steps and then the second steps and so on. And they were all, not complicated things, they were all fairly straightforward things. What were they again? Let me just see if I can find the things that I'm always amazed. Oh yeah, here he is here. This was, when I travel to Indonesia and various other parts of the world, I'm always amazed that I meet people who've never traveled outside their own country and yet are absolutely fluent in English. And I showed you the slide of this guy who, he started off with, okay, first steps, learning the words of English songs, practicing words from names of products. Another person I spoke to mentioned that he was in German, he would post around his house the name in German for items around the house. So he'd have words on stickers, little post-it notes, for words around the house. He'd actually have in his apartment, attached to the picture, attached to the TV. So he was building up his knowledge of German vocabulary. Playing video games. I mentioned the example of the boy that I heard playing a video game with his father on the train in France. So all of these things, singing aloud, this guy, talking to myself in the mirror. These are examples from the guy I mentioned in terms of the learning outside the classroom. The first step, keeping a diary, recording myself on my cassette, singing rap songs when walking, all of things like that. And then the second steps, he talks about greeting foreigners, talking to foreigners, simple conversational exchanges. So, these are not magical solutions. They're very simple, practical things which he identified for himself. He worked up these things for himself. So any successful language learner in Indonesia will have examples of the strategies that they used to help them learn English. And those who are more successful than others, will it be because of these strategies and the time and effort they put into them? So that's why I'm always interested to talk to successful speakers of a second language like yourselves to ask, how did you get there? How did you get there? It certainly wasn't through doing the drills and exercises and so on and tests in your textbook. It was other things that you did, and that's where the keys to successful language learning come from. In my own experience, when I, as an adult, had not learned a foreign language, and in my previous education, and so I decided to do my PhD in a French-speaking university in Canada, and it took me about a year to be able to break through that threshold of just knowing words and phrases and expressions and so on, to actually be able to have a simple communication in French with other with French speakers of French. So again, our greatest source of information about how to learn a language is from successful learners, and we need to find out what successful learners in your class are doing that goes beyond the textbook and goes beyond the classroom.
Thank you, Professor, for the thorough answer. I actually have one question myself. With the information you gave us in your presentation about all the apps and all the technology we can use in learning English, in teaching English, it's very useful, absolutely. But then it leaves me with one question, especially in writing, in teaching writing. So teaching writing is actually cover many things, not only write the letters, the sentence, but also the organization, the ideas, development, and so on and so forth. Using AI, on the other hand, poses this kind of learning endangered, because the AI took over all the learning things while the students left without learning anything. So how do you think, how we can integrate the technology, AI and things, and at the same time still maintaining the learning, the process of learning, and also the academic integrity?
Right, this is a big issue, of course, because we don't want students giving in essays that were written by AI or ChatGPT. So it's a question of finding what are appropriate uses of that AI in writing. For example, a brainstorming. Supposing you're asked to write a topic about whatever, a paragraph or a short essay about a particular topic, you could, of course, brainstorm in a group what are the topics that you should cover, what are the points that you should cover in your essay, and you could brainstorm in a group setting. Then you can ask AI the same question and see what AI suggests to add to the list that you've come up with. So in other words, you're using AI not to start the process, but to monitor the output of your own thinking. So I think then you could, again, you could have students draft an essay, and then in groups they could review each other's essays and make comments on a peer review and so on. At some stage, nothing wrong with having ChatGPT look at it and see how could I make this more formal? How could I make this more formal? And right now it looks like a spoken text. How could I make this a written text? So, you know, ChatGPT could quickly come up with some useful suggestions there. So I think it's a useful resource, but you need to be creative in its use and use it as a way of supporting the students or expanding the students' own thinking rather than replacing the students' own thinking. That's the challenge, I think. But it's not impossible. Not impossible, yeah.
Thank you, Prof. There's one sharing in the chat, Professor, from Ella Rashida. I know that there are lots of resources from the internet or application nowadays, but sometimes I still need a guideline in teaching. So I still use textbook and I combine it by using the resources from the outset as a tool. Any comments on that, Prof?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, a textbook is a source of ideas. It's not a prescription. So it's just a starting point, really, isn't it? Because the textbook cannot anticipate your students' interests, your students' issues, and so on. So it's there as a springboard, and then you'll look for activities to extend what's there, because in a textbook cannot anticipate every situation in which it will be used. So it's a source book rather than a course book, I would say, for creative adaptation by teachers such as yourself. Okay.
Okay, well, I think that concludes our discussion today. The time-wise, I think it's we should conclude it now. Is there any closing remark, Prof?
Managed to get there finally. Thank you, and best wishes to you all.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Jack J. Richard. Big applause for him. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Bye-bye now. Bye.
Bye. See you next time. Okay, and that concludes the two keynote speakers. We come to the third keynote speaker with Bapak Dr. Alim, and the moderator will be Ibu sorry. Okay, we now will have panel discussion with Bapak Dr. Alim from UNESA and Professor Dr. Fathar Rashid from UIN Syekh Wasil Kediri. Oh gitu. Oh. Satu-satu ternyata. Satu-satu. Okay. Sorry, a change in plan. So Pak Dr. Alim will present first, moderated by Ibu Salma MPD. The time is yours.
Ya, oke. Baik, terima kasih Ibu Awifi tadi sudah hand over the session. Baik, sekarang kita langsung untuk ke keynote speaker kita selanjutnya, yakni Bapak Dr. Alim Sumarno MPD dari Universitas Negeri Surabaya. Please give a big applause for him. Baik, Bapak Dr. Alim Sumarno will present the presentation dengan bahasa Indonesia, sehingga sesi ini akan dipandu mulai dari awal hingga akhir dalam sesi tanya jawab menggunakan bahasa Indonesia juga. Bapak Ibu, mau silahkan untuk dapat baik yang di Zoom meeting ataupun yang di offline dapat menyiapkan sesi tanya jawab untuk di akhir nanti, bisa menggunakan bahasa Indonesia ataupun bahasa Inggris. Jikalau memang berkenan untuk bahasa Inggris, nanti saya yang akan menerjemahkan. Begitu. Baik, without any further ado, tanpa berbasa-basi lagi, mari kita mengenal keynote speaker kita, Bapak Dr. Alim Sumarno MPD. Beliau lahir di Ngawi, tanggal 30 Agustus tahun 1977, menempuh pendidikan di Universitas Negeri Surabaya untuk pendidikan S3 beliau, spesifik dalam ilmu teknologi pendidikan. Beliau juga adalah sekarang menjadi Direktur Inovasi Pembelajaran Digital di Universitas Negeri Surabaya, dan beliau banyak-banyak melakukan penelitian dalam bidang terutama learning media, media pembelajaran, kemudian teknologi pendidikan, baik di lokal di Indonesia, juga publikasinya hingga ke internasional. Bapak, tidak berlama-lama, Bapak Alim, Anda memiliki waktu untuk 45 menit ke depan. Silahkan, sehingga nanti kita bisa langsung ke sesinya. Silahkan Bapak.
Ya, terima kasih Mbak Moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yang saya hormati Bapak Dekan, Bapak Wakil Dekan, kemudian Bapak Ibu peserta seminar internasional, workshop atau seminar? Seminar internasional ini. Ada juga saya lihat yang pakai baju hijau itu mahasiswa ya? Enggak demo? Aman ya? Ini waktu kami untuk presentasi ya, seperti yang ditampilkan di layar. Saya mengambil judul memanfaatkan AI untuk pengembangan kurikulum, mapping CPL ke kurikulum. Bapak Ibu, nanti selain saya menggunakan presentasi di PowerPoint, saya juga akan share apa yang sudah saya sendiri kembangkan berkaitan dengan AI di tempat saya, di UNESA, sehingga yang sudah saya kembangkan itu, yang sudah saya buat, itu digunakan oleh semua dosen, semua mahasiswa saat ini. Ya, nanti kalau saya ingin menularkan ini ke UIN Kediri, siapa tahu bisa. Nanti dosen kalau membuat RPS, ya Bapak Ibu dosen, ya bagaimana caranya agar itu terkoneksi dengan AI. Ya. Baiklah, tapi nanti saya menggunakan laptop saya bisa pakai Zoom ya caranya. Berarti saya pertama perlu koneksi dengan WiFi dulu. Yang mana ini? Home theater. Passwordnya di sini. Ya. Kalau boleh seperti itu, nge. Ini yang home theater. Apanya? Charger itu. Passwordnya apa? Sabar ya Bapak Ibu ya. Tadi saya lewat ke sini, pos polisi di situ, kenapa? Kayaknya kok baru dibakar ya. Waduh. Ternyata sampai Kediri, tak pikir hanya di Jakarta, Surabaya. Nggak bisa connect ya Mbak? Aduh, saya pulang loh nanti kalau nggak bisa connect. Ayo, harus bisa connect ini. Nggih, monggo. Mohon maaf, di ruangan ini yang sebagai dosen ada berapa persen? Di atas 50% Anda? Semuanya. Itu hijau-hijau mahasiswa. Mahasiswa menggunakan RPS-nya nanti ya. Kalau dosen yang membuat RPS. RPS itu apa Mbak, tahu enggak? RPS itu rancangan pembelajaran semester. Jadi Bapak Ibu dosen kalau mengajar itu patokannya RPS itu ya. Oh sampun, siap. Linknya, link Zoom-nya. Oke. Kalau ada linknya, tahu tanya. Sampun. Dereng Ibu, ke nomor saya ya. Saya tunggu linknya ya, Zoom-nya di WA. Sementara saya melanjutkan. Sambil saya melanjutkan, sambil dikirim linknya. Sampun? Oh langsung login. Volume mikrofon kan sudah di mute ya, aman ya? Yang saya share screen ditampilkan ya. Bapak Ibu semua, mohon maaf ada teknis ya, biar dari laptop saya tampil ke situ tanpa pakai kabel. Teknologi sekarang menggunakan Zoom. Kembali ke topik yang akan saya sampaikan di acara ini, Bapak Ibu, yaitu mengintegrasikan AI. AI itu teknologi yang sekarang ini terkini ya, ke aplikasi bagi dosen untuk kegiatan pembelajaran di tempat kami ya. Macam-macam Bapak Ibu. Ada AI itu diintegrasikan ketika membuat RPS, kemudian evaluasi, kemudian sampai ke pembuatan bahan ajar itu menggunakan AI. Kalau Bapak Ibu saya tanya ya, mungkin yang di depan ini ngapunten dosen. Nah, Bapak Ibu panjenengan kalau membuat RPS pernah ya? Atau membuat artikel, kalau menggunakan AI menggunakan apa Bu? ChatGPT. Rata-rata ChatGPT. Bapak Ibu sami nggih ChatGPT nggih? Nah, yang akan saya tampilkan ini sebetulnya sama mesinnya ChatGPT, tetapi cara menggunakan ChatGPT-nya itu Bapak Ibu dosen tidak perlu menulis prompt. Biasanya kan kalau membuat artikel itu kan buatkan saya artikel gitu, enggak gitu ya. Oh sudah. Nah, sebagai contoh Bapak Ibu, yang ini Bapak Ibu yang menggunakan laptop, yang pakai HP ya, bisa membuka namanya Sidia gitu ya. Sidia itu sistem pembelajaran Sinau Digital UNESA. Sidia, Sinau Digital boleh. Nah, di Sidia ini Bapak Ibu ya, Bapak Ibu bisa melihat semua rancangan pembelajaran, semua mata kuliah itu bisa dibuka dengan bebas. Nah, perlu diketahui bahwa jumlah prodi di UNESA itu 120-an. Bisa dilihat di situ prodinya apa saja ya. Di profil kurikulum itu, tuh ini sudah begini tapi situ belum. Jedanya 2 menit ya. Saya klik di sini nunggu 2 menit baru. Yang di Zoom juga bisa. Nah, betul 1 menit. Ya. Yang cepat Bapak Ibu langsung praktek aja ya. Bisa dicari prodinya ada 120, ya mungkin yang mirip dengan prodi di Tarbiyah sini, Fakultas Tarbiyah apa ya. Kalau di tempat kami kan Fakultas Ilmu Pendidikan itu. Mungkin prodinya, nah setelah masuk di prodi Bapak Ibu, setelah masuk di prodi akan tampil profil prodinya. Nah, itu profil prodinya. Nah, di profil prodi itu ada visi misi. Nah, saya mau masuk ke struktur kurikulumnya. Di struktur kurikulum itu kita tampilkan terbuka kurikulum yang dipakai di semua prodi di UNESA. Nah misalnya pilih adik-adik mau mata kuliah apa yang dilihat ya, bahasa apa, manajemen humas misalnya. Diklik nanti dipilih RPS. Nah, ini ya, ini loh adik-adik mahasiswa. RPS yang saya maksudkan tadi, oke, ini RPS-nya sudah standar OBE. Ada yang tahu OBE itu apa? Outcome Based Education. Ya, semua RPS mata kuliah Bapak Ibu bisa download di sini. Dan nanti yang akan kami share adalah integrasi dengan AI ketika membuat OBE ini ya. Nah, kalau di Kementerian Agama ada namanya IKU tidak Bapak Ibu? Indikator kerja utama. Ada ya? Ada. Oke. Kalau di Kemdikbud kan ada itu di tiap tahun. IKU itu bahkan di itu Bapak Ibu, diligakan ya. Ada perguruan tinggi kalau di PTN itu dibagi-bagi Bapak Ibu. Ada yang kelasnya ya, kelas PTNBH, kemudian bawahnya ada kelas BLU, terus kelas Satker. Nah, PTNBH ini PTN yang pakai BH, nah, berbadan hukum. Nah, ini adalah perguruan tinggi yang besar-besar seperti UGM, UI, ya. UNESA baru masuk tahun 2002. Tetapi dengan adanya aplikasi, padahal kemarin belum ada AI ya, adanya aplikasi yang kami kembangkan ini untuk IKU 7 itu salah satu indikatornya adalah RPS ini. Itu juara 1 UNESA. Jadi perguruan tinggi lainnya yang besar-besar itu juara di bawah UNESA. Begitu Bapak Ibu. Sekarang ya saya kembali ke PowerPoint-nya. Latar belakangnya seperti ini Bapak Ibu ya. Ini agak kuliah sedikit. Oke, Pak Dekan nggih. Agak kuliah sedikit. Terutama bidang 1. Bidang 1 mengurusi pendidikan ya. Sama ya, akademik ya. Adik-adik yang mahasiswa biar juga nyambung ya. Saya kalau pakai bahasa Inggris malah nggak nyambung nanti. Adik-adik dan Bapak Ibu ya, ketika seorang dosen mengajar di kelas, beliau menyampaikan ya, ketika ngajar misalnya mata kuliah yang gampang ya, mata kuliah filsafat. Nah, dosen itu, Bapak Ibu dosen itu dalam rangka dalam rangka mencapai PLO atau CPL. Jadi misalnya PLO itu apa sih? Ada yang tahu? CPL, capaian lulusan. Ya, ada CPL, CPMK. Jadi misalnya salah satu prodi di sini apa Bu? Prodi Bahasa Indonesia. Ya, saya jelaskan dulu. Ada yang prodi Bahasa Indonesia, kaprodinya siap. Mahasiswanya ada? Tidak ada. Nah, jadi Bapak Ibu dosen semuanya ketika mengajar di kelas itu dalam rangka mencapai CPL Prodi Bahasa Indonesia. Apa saja misalnya? CPL pertama, mahasiswa dapat menjadi guru bahasa Indonesia yang baik. Kedua, mahasiswa dapat apa Pak contohnya Pak? Saya enggak apa kalau bahasa Indonesia CPL-nya. Nah, menguasai konsep bahasa Indonesia. Udah. Dalam rangka itu semua mata kuliah diajarkan itu dalam rangka mencapai itu. Sehingga ya, kalau sebuah program studi sudah mengklaim bahwa prodi saya sudah menggunakan kurikulum OBE, maka sampai evaluasi itu harus diterapkan. Artinya semua CPL tadi harus dievaluasi Bapak. Itu kalau sudah mengklaim menggunakan OBE ya. Jadi bukan hanya prodi saya sudah menggunakan RPS OBE, bukan hanya itu, tetapi sampai ke evaluasi CPL tadi ya. Mahasiswa mampu ini, mahasiswa mampu itu harus dievaluasi. Nah, kalau pakai cara biasa ya, itu hanya membuat RP-nya saja butuh 3 sampai 4 jam hanya untuk merancang bukan RPS-nya, CPL-nya. Nah, solusinya karena sekarang sudah zaman AI, maka perlu integrasi AI. Nah, seperti apa ini, Bapak Ibu? Itu Bapak Ibu ya, ini tool yang saya kembangkan yang versi pertama. Ada banyak tool nanti ya. Yang versi pertama ini Bapak Ibu, ini kami kembangkan khusus hanya untuk pengajuan program studi baru. Jadi kalau pengajuan prodi baru, itu kan dosennya belum ada, okay? Mahasiswanya belum ada, ya toh? Mata kuliahnya juga baru dibuat. Beda kalau prodi sudah ada, kita minta ke dosennya langsung. Karena ini pengajuan prodi baru, maka kita minta tolongnya pertama ke AI. Ya. Jadi untuk membuat RPS mata kuliah apapun, kita sudah kita sudah membuatkan aplikasi ini, tinggal klik saja Bapak Ibu. Ini sudah kita buat semua. Di sini RPS ini sudah jadi semuanya. Kalau belum tinggal ada tombol generate ya, klik generate gitu. Dia akan mengeneritkan sampai selesai ya. Ini sudah jadi, kalau sudah jadi hasilnya selesai seperti ini. Cuma bedanya Bapak Ibu ya, yang kita buat ini itu terkoneksi, tidak langsung membuat seperti itu jadi dokumen, enggak. Artinya tiap-tiap capaian mata kuliah, tiap-tiap CPMK itu terkoneksi dengan database ya, sehingga nanti bisa dipakai untuk kebutuhan lainnya. Saya contohkan nanti. Misalnya ya, untuk buku ajar, kok cepet Pak? Ya ampun, ini masih 10% yang saya sampaikan ini. Ya, misalnya untuk buku ajar Bapak Ibu ya, buku ajar, buku ajar digenerate itu dari AI tadi, dari bukan maksudnya kami dari RPS tadi ya, kan sudah ada capaiannya. Pertemuan pertama tujuannya capaian pembelajarannya ini, pertemuan kedua capaian pembelajarannya ini. Nah, dari tiap-tiap capaian itu tadi digeneritkan seperti ini. Ini kalau generate tinggal klik ya. Nah, dia akan membuatkan bukunya. Kalau sudah jadi seperti ini. Nah, ini sudah jadi. Mulai dari daftar isi sampai ini isinya sub-subnya ini diambil dari RPS tadi Bapak Ibu, ya betul. Nggih. Nah, di sini dosen tugasnya itu adalah memastikan apa yang dibuat oleh AI itu tidak salah. Begitu. Jadi kadang juga AI itu bikinnya bukan ngaco sih, tidak benar ya. Jadi tanggung jawab dosen adalah di sini. Ini ya, di sini juga sudah kita kasih disclaimer bahwa ini digenerate oleh AI. Nah, kemudian Bapak Ibu untuk evaluasinya, ya, ini kalau saya pakai PowerPoint kan isinya rangkuman-rangkuman ya. Nanti kalau tidak saya tampilkan prakteknya ya, biar tidak bingung maksudnya ya, saya tampilkan prakteknya di tempat kami itu seperti ini. Saya sekarang untuk evaluasi. Pak Abdul Harim itu dosen di tempat kami Bapak Ibu, kenal? Kakaknya Muhaimin, dosen di S1 Manajemen. Ini Bapak Ibu ya, untuk misalnya saya tadi masuk ke evaluasi ya adik-adik. Jadi semua sub tadi, mahasiswa bisa apa, itu dibuatkan alat evaluasinya. Yang ada 2 jenis di tempat kami, yang pertama tugas, yang kedua kuis. Ya. Kalau menggunakan kuis, ini kita juga pakai AI juga, bantuan AI, tapi masih bisa diedit. Ya. Misalnya minggu pertama, ini ya CPL-nya ini membuat kuis 10 kuis. Nomor 1 soalnya seperti ini, jawabannya ini yang membuat kita tinggal klik ya. Saya coba yang masih belum dibuat ya, misalnya mata kuliah ini 24. Nah ini CPL-nya adik-adik, capaian lulusannya ini mampu menguasai pengetahuan dan penerapan dan seterusnya. Terus capaian mata kuliahnya, ini adik-adik yang jurusan pendidikan harus paham ini ya, karena Anda nanti jadi guru atau jadi dosen, itu berangkatnya di teori pedagogik itu seperti ini. Nah, dari sini dibuat alat ukurnya, alat untuk mengukurnya, pakai kuis, klik gini. Nah, dia akan membuat kuisnya. Cuma ini kan Bapak Ibu tidak melihat saya menuliskan prompt kan? Nah, promptnya yang nulis sistemnya di sini. Kemudian ini ditunggu beberapa saat, sedang bekerja di sana. Mungkin yang pakai bukan hanya saya, banyak dosen di Unisa sekarang lagi pakai sehingga perlu waktu. Minggu keempat tadi ya. Nah ini. Dan soal yang dibuat itu sudah benar-benar mengarah pada CPMK yang akan diukur ini. Baik itu Bapak Ibu. Ini membuat soalnya. Ini belum enggak hanya sampai di sini. Nanti sampai ini biar sampai ke mahasiswa itu bagaimana kami menggunakan namanya LMS. Bapak Ibu tahu itu apa LMS? Learning Management System ya. Atau e-learning. Nah, ini kami simpan di e-learning, otomatis tinggal klik gitu. Sehingga ya dengan cara seperti ini Bapak Ibu, kami bisa menunjukkan bahwa capaian UNESA, saya membuka webnya Sepada Indonesia. Itu kalau dilihat domainnya sepada.kemristek.go.id. Ya, bukan punya UNESA berarti, punyanya pemerintah, punyanya Prabowo. Nah, di sini di kos, kemudian nah ini saya tunjukkan grafik penggunaan LMS tadi ya. Semua perguruan tinggi di Indonesia, kalau semua aktivitas mahasiswa, dosen ketika mereka kuliah menggunakan LMS dicatat di situ. Ini grafiknya. Ini adalah antar perguruan tinggi Bapak Ibu ya. Yang biru itu perguruan tinggi mana, yang hijau itu perguruan tinggi mana, yang kuning itu mana, itu bisa dilihat. Langsung yang ini ya, yang kuning ini mana? Universitas Pembangunan Veteran, UPN Jakarta. Ini UNESA. Ya. Yang biru ini. Nah, ini di tanggal-tanggal sekian, tanggal berapa ini? Awal-awal Agustus ini masih tinggi. Ya. Nah, tetapi secara umum bisa dilihat di sini, yang paling banyak tetap UNESA. Ya. Nomor 2 UPN. Jadi strateginya, ini strategi agar dosen dan mahasiswa di tempat kami itu benar-benar efektif menggunakan LMS. Bayangkan Bapak Ibu ya, jumlah mahasiswa baru saja 19.000. Angkatan 2025 ini ya di UNESA 19.000. Kalau jumlah semua angkatan itu hampir 50-60 ribu. Bayangkan mengelolanya apa itu sekian banyak aktivitas, kalau tidak pakai bantuan teknologi ya, diserahkan hanya kepada admin, waduh ya teler. Bentar lagi Pak ya, dikit lagi. Nah, demikian juga misalnya untuk pembelajaran ini kan online ya, online di tempat kami itu kita kondisikan ya, dosen kalau membuat room itu tidak membuat sendiri, kemudian maksudnya kalau membuat kelas online itu tidak membuat sendiri, kemudian linknya di share di WA, enggak, tetapi pakai aplikasi ini juga. Sehingga ini dari kebetulan saya adalah direktur inovasi pembelajaran yang mengembangkan ini, sehingga saya bisa melihat aktivitas kelas detik ini. Jadi detik ini yang sedang kuliah itu ada berapa dosen ya, ini sekian banyaknya Bapak Ibu. Saya bisa masuk ke kelas-kelas mereka ya. Oh ini tidak ada orangnya, sudah selesai mungkin. Nah ini, saya bisa masuk ke kelas-kelas mereka. Nah ini bagi bidang 1, kalau, suara mlebu kok. Bagi bidang 1 untuk memonitor pelaksanaan perkuliahan di tempatnya bisa menggunakan sistem yang seperti ini ya. Dan semua perkuliahan online itu bisa direkam otomatis Bapak Ibu ya. Dan hasil rekamannya juga tertata secara sistematis, hanya bisa diakses oleh mahasiswa atau hanya mahasiswa yang mengambil kuliah itu ya. Saya contohkan ini, harus masuk sebagai dosen dulu. Nah ini Bapak Ibu, modelnya kayak YouTube. Tapi ini adalah isinya adalah rekaman perkuliahan online semua kelas. Kalau ini saya sebagai admin atau sebagai direktur bisa melihat semuanya. Tapi kalau mahasiswa kayak adik-adik ini hanya bisa melihat sesuai dengan apa yang diambil di KRS-nya. Sehingga adik-adik kalau tadi kurang jelas materinya yang disampaikan oleh Bapak Ibu dosen seperti apa, bisa diulangi lagi malamnya atau besoknya atau kapanpun ya. Seperti itu. Dosennya kurang jelas no mau ya. Ngomong apa sih? Apa pas waktunya penting adik-adik lagi diminta ibunya goreng tempe misalnya ya. Sampun? Oke. Itu tadi Bapak Ibu ya, share kami pengembangan inovasi untuk pedagogik, untuk pendidikan, inovasi teknologi yang bisa kami sampaikan. Kurang lebihnya mohon maaf, saya kembalikan ke Mbak Moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Tepuk tangan kembali untuk Bapak Alim. Terima kasih Bapak Alim, ini sangat-sangat membuka cakrawala kami yang baru yang selama ini AI-nya hanya terpaku pada ChatGPT atau mungkin Gemini ya, Bapak Ibu dan Mbak Mas sekalian. Ternyata bisa sampai tersistem serapi seperti yang ada di Sidia ya Bapak tadi ya. Silahkan langsung ke sesi tanya jawab Bapak Ibu, jika ada yang dari ruang home theater atau baik Bapak Ibu di Zoom meeting. Jika bertanya bisa langsung atau mungkin mau menuliskan di chat box. Silakan. Oh ya, Bapak, silakan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih, luar biasa materinya dari Pak Alim. Beberapa waktu yang lalu kami mengembangkan kurikulum KKNI juga dari UNESA yang dimotori oleh Bu Wadek. Ini ternyata perkembangannya setelah sekian tahun kita undang sudah jauh, ya. Artinya jauh lebih baik perkembangannya. Ini insya Allah nanti Bu Wadek bisa diundang di luar ini. Oke Pak, tadi panjenengan sudah menyampaikan bahwasannya semua mulai dari produk ya, semua produk untuk perangkat pembelajarannya dosen, khususnya OBE, itu sudah berbasis AI. Ini kelihatannya yang perlu kami belajar ini, panjenengan ini sudah mengembangkan sistem dari berbagai EE atau satu EE, terus kemudian panjenengan bikin rumus-rumus sehingga sudah menghasilkan sampai seperti itu. Ini perlu ilmu yang apa ya, yang lebih spesifik karena ini sangat singkat sekali. Dan kami pada hari ini sedang mengembangkan RPS, termasuk RPS di dalamnya berbasis OBE. Terus kemudian di Fakultas Tarbiyah juga mengembangkan pengukuran untuk OBE-nya, tapi sifatnya ya protolan-protolan, bukan tersistem seperti ini. Monggo nanti bisa kami belajar ke UNESA terkait dengan sistem mulai awal sampai terbentuk sistem itu kan ini saya lihat satu bagian yang utuh. Ini dari berbagai EE atau satu EE tapi sudah ada rumus-rumusnya atau apa tadi istilahnya? Pakai apa tadi? Promnya itu kan mesti bermacam-macam toh Pak ini Pak. Bukan satu prom saja, mesti bermacam-macam prom sesuai dengan permintaan-permintaan itu. Mohon penjelasan lebih agak detail sedikit. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Nggih. Langsung ya Pak. Karena kalau banyak pertanyaan dulu tuh saya lupa biasanya. Mau tanya pertama tadi apa sih gitu kayak. Nah, nggih matur nuwun. Jadi intinya yang ditanyakan adalah apakah di tempat kami itu berbagai AI atau satu AI tapi banyak prom gitu nggih. Nah, Bapak Ibu, sejarahnya memang dulu ya AI itu kan macam-macam ya. Ada ChatGPT, ada Gemini, ada DeepSeek. Nah, dulu pertama kita menggunakan mesinnya itu ChatGPT Bapak Ibu. ChatGPT itu ya baik ya kalau diminta membuat RPS itu bahasanya baik dan dia itu bisa mengkategorikan setiap capaian mata kuliah itu misalnya untuk mata kuliah yang sama ya. Apa itu misalnya statistik, dia bisa membedakan jenjangnya berdasarkan jenjang. Misalnya mata kuliah statistik untuk D4, untuk S1, untuk S2, S3 itu dia beda, capaian kognitifnya belum itu loh ya. Nah, tapi bayarnya mahal. Kalau pakai mesinnya ChatGPT itu bayarnya mahal sekali. Akhirnya, alhamdulillah karena itu persaingan, negara Cina ya juga mengeluarkan namanya, ada yang tahu? DeepSeek. Ya, akhirnya kita mesinnya pakai DeepSeek. DeepSeek itu murahnya minta ampun. Ya. Saya gambarkan ya, DeepSeek yang kita pakai itu, kita pakai untuk melayani pertanyaan mahasiswa, itu akun yang sama di DeepSeek. Untuk membuat RPS, untuk membuat artikel, itu semua dosen pakai ya. Itu dalam sebulan kemarin itu hanya $20 USD. Saestu. Wah, kalau ChatGPT itu sampai kita pakai rekanan, pakai bendera ya karena mahalnya. Ya. Kalau Cina hanya $20. Saya yakin kalau hanya untuk fakultas Tarbiyah, fakultas lainnya di institusi ini sama mungkin ya, sekitar segitu. Nah, ini dipakai ini Pak. Kita buatkan juga namanya untuk menjawab otomatis. Ini bentuknya kayak WA. Jadi mahasiswa kalau tanya apapun, misalnya ada yang tanya ini bayar UKT itu sampai kapan sih? Kalau tiap mahasiswa tanya ke bagian keuangan, capek jawab. Ya, mahasiswanya saya ketahui. Kita menggunakan AI ini, ini menjawab otomatis. Dia sudah di training agar menjawab sesuai dengan kondisi UNESA, data-data. Dan jawabannya baik Bapak Ibu ya. Ini dan bahasanya dia sudah di-set kalau yang tanya mahasiswa itu pakai lu gue gitu. Iya. Sehingga mahasiswa itu merasa bahkan saking dia kayak manusia, bahkan mahasiswa itu enggak hanya tanya akademik, sampai curhat Bapak Ibu. Tapi ini yang bisa baca ini cuma tim kami ya. Bapak Ibu jangan bilang-bilang mahasiswa UNESA ya, nanti mereka malu. Ya, bahkan ada yang curhat. Itu enggak sampai $20 sebulan biayanya, Pak. Ini mesinnya pakai DeepSeek dan promnya banyak sekali Bapak Ibu. Untuk membuat RPS, CPL itu banyak prom yang kita siapkan. Kemarin kita diundang seperti ini di Stikes Kesehatan Surabaya itu, mereka meminta juga dibuatkan seperti ini Bapak. Mereka sudah punya siakatnya dikonekkan dengan AI agar dosennya bikin RPS seperti ini. Itu yang bisa kami jawab.
Terima kasih Bapak Zainal, beliau Kaprodi Program Studi Pendidikan Agama Islam Bapak. Nah, jadi beliau sangat menarik ini ya Pak ya, betul nggih? Apa yang ada di UNESA ini. Baik, ini ada sedikit dari Bapak Nida, tapi sepertinya sudah dijawab tadi, bikinnya ini mahal apa enggak Pak Alim? Tadi sudah dijawab nggih Bapak, ya ini sangat-sangat murah karena menggunakan DeepSeek, betul nggih Bapak? Sedikit saja tambahan Bapak, setelah ini mungkin kita ini, kalau dengan sistem yang semua tergenerate seperti ini Bapak, kira-kira bagaimana ketahanan terhadap malware dan semacamnya Bapak? Karena mohon maaf kalau misalnya ada ini kan lah semuanya hilang semuanya gitu Bapak. Nah ini seperti apa? Mungkin Bapak bisa sharing bagaimana sistem keamanannya juga. Terima kasih.
Oke. Ini udah agak dalam ini pertanyaannya ya. Kita ada beberapa divisi di tempat kami ya. Jadi kalau tim saya itu bagian yang bikin aplikasinya. Ada bagian di tempat kami namanya tim dari Direktorat IT, itu yang menangani servernya, jaringan dan sebagainya. Nah, bagian itu biar tidak diserang oleh hacker, nah itu sudah ada tim khusus yang keamanan itu, tim cyber, security tim cyber. Nah, kalau iya, betul. Ada kalau apa di sini namanya Puskom ya. Nah, di bagian Puskom. Nah, bagian IT itu yang menangani keamanannya. Kalau di sisi kami itu ya pokoknya ketika membuat prom gini, ada juga mahasiswa yang iseng ya. Kita ketahuan akhirnya di promnya yang khusus ke AI tadi kita tuliskan, nanti kalau ada mahasiswa yang iseng kamu
monggo singkat saja Nje.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat datang Bapak di kampus kami. Akhirnya ketemu dengan panjenengan. Bapak Ibu kebetulan saya juga salah satu, tidak ada mantan Pak ya untuk mahasiswa ya. Saya adalah salah satu mahasiswa UNESA dulunya dan beliau memang kami hadirkan di sini untuk menjadi keynote speaker today. Tepuk tangan untuk Pak Alim. Ya. Ini adalah salah satu teknologi yang tersistem gitu Pak ya, dan it's really awesome. Kami sangat bangga sekali dengan apa yang dihadirkan UNESA di sini dan kami harap mungkin kami belajar banyak untuk itu, bisa diadaptasi juga di kampus kami atau mungkin kampus Bapak Ibu. Cuma ada beberapa pertanyaan yang mengganjal di hati saya karena kebetulan panjenengan berbicara masalah kurikulum dan kebetulan saya mengajar kurikulum di kampus saya. Ini adalah mungkin beberapa keluhan dari yang berjas-jas hijau juga itu ya. Karena kebetulan kalau kami adalah dosen sehingga memang fokusnya ada di OBE. Nah, mahasiswa saat ini ketika mendengarkan mata kuliah kurikulum Bapak, terutama di kelas saya, mereka langsung bagaimana ya? Raut wajah, hati, perasaan itu berubah. Karena mereka curiga kurikulum itu akan berubah lagi ketika mereka sudah belajar kurikulum A. Nah begitu juga dengan saat ini ketika kurikulum dikatakan tidak berubah, tetapi kan memang ada beberapa hal yang perlu kita sikapi. Mungkin kalau untuk yang tersistem seperti ini kami harus melibatkan beberapa pihak termasuk dari institusi itu sendiri. Bagaimana dengan kami yang notabene adalah mungkin dosen, mahasiswa yang tidak terlalu paham dengan teknologi tetapi ingin menghasilkan sesuatu yang mungkin 92% tadi valid begitu. Nah, panjenengan kebetulan adalah direktur inovasi yang sangat bergelut banyak di dalam hal digital ya Bapak. Mungkin panjenengan bisa memberikan tips kepada kami bagaimana merancang CPL kalau di sistem kurikulum mungkin di situ adalah ada apa namanya, kalau di sistem deep learning saya kok lupa jadinya. Ya jadi baik, kalau tadi ada CPL, ada CPL, ada CPMK, ada sub CPMK, begitu juga dengan mahasiswa sendiri. Mahasiswa kan juga perlu merancang itu untuk kurikulum yang kemarin adalah MBKM, yang sekarang adalah masuk ke deep learning, dengan berbagai macam taksonomi yang yang dipakai. Kalau mungkin kemarin mereka memakai taksonomi Bloom, sekarang ada taksonomi Solo. Nah, bagaimana mungkin memasukkan prompt atau ada beberapa jenis ChatGPT, sejenis ChatGPT lain yang mungkin akan lebih valid daripada ChatGPT, sehingga kami bisa mendapatkan kevalidan itu. Karena bagaimanapun mau tidak mau AI sekarang mempermudah kami untuk bekerja. Itu pertanyaan yang pertama Bapak. Nah, untuk pertanyaan yang kedua, mungkin sebaliknya. Sebaliknya adalah mungkin panjenengan bisa sharing kepada kami, karena kebetulan kan UNESA sangat high-tech gitu Bapak ya. Bagaimana UNESA menyikapi adanya AI yang berkembang untuk mempertahankan mulai dari originality, students work, ya, menghindari plagiarisme dan sebagainya. Saya kira itu saja. Terima kasih banyak Bapak. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Oke. Terima kasih. Ibu siapa tadi, Bu? Bu Reni. Wah, pertanyaan panjang. Jawab pendek saja ya. Oke. Jadi untuk perubahan kurikulum. Kalau dari sisi dosen nanti disimpulkan sendiri ya. Kebetulan karena saya adalah sebagai dipercaya di tempat kami untuk memegang menangani aplikasi ya. Dulu pertama Bu, sebelum OBE itu kurikulum apa namanya? KKNI yang zaman sebelumnya lagi KPK. Nah, itu kita sudah membuat sistem ya, sudah membuat sistem. Cuma kalau dulu itu kan di RPS itu kan kalau sekarang CPL dulu kan apa sih tujuan instruksional, tujuan pembelajaran gitu ya. Nah, kemudian ganti kurikulum, mata kuliahnya tetap, kurikulumnya berbeda, istilahnya berbeda. Ya. Karena itu kami sebetulnya sudah mempunyai tabungan isi kurikulum OBE ini dari tahun 2015. Cuma pada waktu itu karena kurikulumnya belum OBE ya, namanya masih beda, yaitu tadi tujuan pembelajaran khusus, ya tujuan pembelajaran umum, tapi sudah mencakup semua mata kuliah. Sehingga ketika ada perubahan kurikulum baru, ada CPL, CPMK, sub CPMK. Nah, kita tinggal sudah punya tabungan ini datanya kan kan hanya beda penamaan. Kita tinggal migrasi. Ya, dari sisi karena kita yang dipercaya sehingga ketika ada kurikulum RPSOB ini dosen di tempat kami tidak mengisi dari nol. Tidak mengisi dari nol isian-isian yang ada di RPS itu dari sisi pengembang. Nah, kalau dari sisi dosen, karena saya sendiri juga dosen ya, untuk tips untuk seperti itu, gimana ya, gimana Bu? Kalau saya menyimpannya di aplikasi atau di program yang bisa kayak Excel ya, kayak Excel. Kalau saya membuat RPS itu lembar kerja pertama itu di Excel Bapak Ibu. Sehingga misalnya dari membuat CPL kemudian dikembangkan ke CPMK. Dulu belum ada AI ya. Itu Excel. Karena di Excel itu kita bisa dengan mudah memetakan komponen-komponen yang ada di RPS. Misalnya membuat CPL dijabarkan menjadi CPMK. CPMK dijabarkan menjadi sub CPMK. Kalau langsung di MS Word kerjanya saya tidak bisa memappingkan dengan membayangkan dengan baik ya, karena saya lebih senang menggunakan Excel, bisa langsung kelihatan. Itu kalau dari saya loh ya. Mungkin Bapak Ibu dosen yang lain berbeda kasusnya. Terus yang kedua tadi apa Bu? Oke, untuk mendeteksi ya. Sementara ini Bapak Ibu, kita memang AI itu tidak kita pungkiri ya. Kalau dosennya nggak soal nggawe AI, mahasiswanya jawab nggak AI ya. Berarti AI, aslinya sing kerja AI ya. Terus ngoreksinya pakai AI juga. Curang dosennya Bu. Nah, dia pakai AI, mahasiswanya nggak boleh pakai AI. Gini Bapak Ibu, di tempat kami yang untuk deteksi seperti itu ya belum sampai ke tugas. Hanya yang selama ini setahu saya loh ya, itu hanya ke artikel yang diunggah mahasiswa ketika mereka mendaftar yudisium. Untuk syarat yudisium itu kan harus mengunggah artikel. Nah, yang diperiksa apakah itu lolos AI, lolos plagiarisme itu artikel. Kalau untuk tugas kita belum membuat sistem. Jadi ya pintar-pintarnya dosen kalau begitu. Ya. Ikhlas enggak mahasiswanya pakai AI? Begitu Bu. Tapi toolnya banyak ya. Kalau mau 50 mahasiswa ngumpulkan kemudian dicek satu-satu, toolnya di internet namanya Zero GPT. Zero GPT itu dia bisa mendeteksi pekerjaan mahasiswa, copy saja masukkan situ, dia akan terdeteksi berapa persen menggunakan AI. Tuh. Gini caranya. Kalau begitu, kalau memang enggak boleh pakai, bilang aja, nanti semua pekerjaan akan saya periksa menggunakan tool ini. Yang ketahuan enggak lulus, tapi gitu aja dah. Tapi jangan maksudnya kalau mau diperiksa silahkan, kalau enggak silahkan. Yang penting kita sudah beritahu ke mahasiswa. Siap-siap ini ya. Zero GPT Pak. Mohon yang saya share screen ini. Ya. Oh gitu dah. Bentar. Ini untuk evaluasi ya, untuk memudahkan dan mapping. Enggak bisa. Nah, ini Bu ya, untuk memappingkan dan untuk sekaligus memudahkan dosen, ini bisa dipakai di mahasiswa yang mau ngambil mata kuliah kurikulum ya. Begini, di lembar penilaian kami modelnya seperti ini Bu. Kalau di sini kan di Excel mungkin hanya UTS, UAS, tugas ya. Kalau di kami semua dosen itu untuk menilai pekerjaan mahasiswa seperti ini, oke. Jadi ada 2 sheet. Sheet pertama itu rekap dari isinya kurikulum. Di sini ada CPL, ya. Jadi ini kan pertemuan 1 sampai 16, ya. Pertemuan pertama itu CPL ini, CPL 11 ini. Ya, CPL 10, CPMK-nya mana, bunyinya seperti apa, bentuk penilaiannya apa. Kemudian ini rekap CPL-nya, ini ada bobot persentasenya. Nanti kalau saya kirim Bu, bisa dipakai di sini ya untuk menilai ketercapaian CPL. Nah, nanti pekerjaan mahasiswa masukannya di sini. Ya, ini saya kasih nilai 79. Ya. Terus ini sebetulnya bisa pakai manual seperti saya ini atau menggunakan sistem di tempat kami. Nah, ini angka persentasenya sudah berubah. Kalau saya memasukkan nilai ya, otomatis ini capaian CPL-nya sudah kelihatan itu persentasenya. Dimappingkan seperti ini. Pakai Excel Bu. Kalau pakai manual ya sulit ya. Jadi pakai Excel, pakai rumus, dosen tinggal download. Nah, sehingga nanti kalau di semua mata kuliah terkumpul itu CPL di tiap prodi bisa dihitung. Kira-kira seperti itu.
Baik, terima kasih Bapak Alim. Terima kasih juga untuk Bu Renita atas pertanyaannya. Mengingat waktunya sudah pukul 12.13, kita tutup untuk sesi Bapak Alim. Terima kasih banyak. Mari beri give applause dari Bapak Alim. Terima kasih. Baik, Bapak Ibu, selanjutnya untuk keynote speaker kita yang terakhir, Bapak Profesor Dr. Fathor Rashid MPD akan dipandu oleh Bapak Edwin Novianto Al-Aziz MPD. Kepada beliau disilakan.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good morning everyone to those who are in Indonesia, and good afternoon to those who are in another side of the globe. First of all, we would like to say apologize because of we're running out of time and we're out of this schedule. And for this session, we're going to have like 25 until 30 minutes for the last speaker, and I do apologize to Professor Fathor, to have like a brief session. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, without further ado, let me try to briefly read the biography or the curriculum vitae of Prof. Fathor Rashid. Fathor Rashid is a professor in English language education. He earned his doctorate degree from Universitas Negeri Malang, Indonesia. He was a visiting academic at the University of Melbourne. He attended an English teacher training, Cambridge ICELT, Cambridge University. He was visiting scholar at the Goethe University, Germany. He was a visiting scholar at University of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, USA. I'm so sorry if I have mispronounced. He took part in postdoctoral program at Waseda University, Tokyo, Japan. He's now a senior teacher at the English education program at State University, State Islamic University, Syekh Wasil Kediri, UIN Syekh Wasil Kediri. His fields of interest include travel, material development, and technology in learning. Maybe without further ado, let's try to give applause and give the floor to Professor.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I have to say good afternoon, okay? Because it is already afternoon, from morning to afternoon, and and as a host speaker, I was planned to be the first speaker, but it turns out to be the last speaker. Okay, as a host speaker, I have to give priority to our guest speakers. Okay, I would like to be a good host. Okay. Dear audience, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to talk today is partly discuss a bit by Pak Alim Sumarno, because what is presented by Pak Alim Sumarno is really practical, and what is presented by Jaxi Richard partly is also practical, the use of AI in English language teaching. But I would like to talk about something a bit general about the paradigms, okay? The paradigm, education paradigm. I usually say smart paradigm, okay? Smart pedagogical approaches, okay? In which the education should integrate AI tools, I mean, okay? Even though in some countries, in some developed countries, they banned the use of AI in the classroom. But I would say that the use of AI tool in classroom is still necessary with some cautions, of course. With some caution, of course. What is presented by Pak Alim just now, I already prepared in the second slide, okay? In the second slide, okay? Lecturers, okay, most of you are lecturers, as AI tool to do this, okay, to design, create course outline, RPS just now, okay. So some lazy lecturers like me, for example, I usually go to AI tool to design and to create course outline, to develop teaching material, as Pak Alim said just now, to make tests, to provide teaching strategies, and to analyze test results, and many other things that AI tool can help you as teachers. Okay, depending on they have what I usually say, they have ilmu laduni. Okay, whatever you ask, they give you any information, give you answers as you need. Okay, this is in on the sides of teachers. Now, how about the students? Okay, the second slide. Okay, the student ask AI to help them to accomplish tasks just now. Okay, and any assignment given by teachers, okay, students do it by AI tool. Okay, even though you ban it, okay, to do tests, to find references, and many other things. So teachers use AI, students use AI too. So the same thing, okay? It is not fair when teachers use AI tool and students are banned to use AI. That's not fair, okay? Even though you ban them, but they try to find out any occasion, any opportunity to use AI, even though you already banned them to use AI. And then let's go to the essence of teaching then, okay? Okay, the question, do teaching and learning take place with and through AI tool? Okay, when I design, I teach the strategies, everything given by AI tool in students. Okay? The question is that, the underlying question is that, do teaching and learning take place with and through AI? Do you think so? Is it a kind of teaching learning? I don't think so. Okay, I don't think so. Let's go to the essence of teaching. What is teaching then? Okay, this is the definition of teaching: a dynamic process of facilitating learning. Okay, facilitating. I would like to highlight facilitating learning, encompassing both the imparting of information and the development of skill, values, and attitude in learners. Okay, do students gain this through AI? Probably not. Okay, probably not. Okay, it means that the student may not achieve this, okay, through AI only. It involves a structured approach where teachers guide students to comprehend and apply knowledge. Guide students to comprehend and apply knowledge. Okay, I don't think that students get or achieve this through AI tools. Fostering active participation and critical thinking. Okay, yeah, critical thinking should be highlighted. Okay, and then, so what is the functions of AI then? AI tool. AI can only promote learning to happen anytime, anytime, anyway, any occasions, okay, anyway, okay. Just AI tool just facilitate better, faster, shorter opportunity to improve, to succeed. So when teachers, for example, when you design and create course outline, it takes how many days for you to write down course outline for one subject? Not enough for one day, okay? Probably 2 days or 3 days to complete course outline. One RPS, okay? One RPS can only be done manually by, let's say, about 1 or 2 days, okay? But through AI, how long does it take? Probably in a second. Probably in a second, even though, as Pak Alim said just now, with some cautions, because not everything given by AI tool is accurate, okay, is accurate. So I would like to suggest this one, SIF, okay, SIF, switch on the stage model to guide on the side model. This is what Mr. Jaxie Richards said just now about traditional teaching, okay? Okay. Switch on the stage model is a kind of traditional model in which teachers dominate the classroom. Teachers become the dispensers of information. So they talk a lot, the students listen a lot, the teachers are active, the students listening silently and ngantukly. Okay, probably something like that, okay? Because when teachers talk a lot, well, what happened to students? They usually, so I usually say 3 Ds, okay? What is 3 Ds? Datang, duduk, diam, belum. Okay, okay. Okay. My student usually say, don't until, okay? Okay, so what is that? So everything given by teachers is the only information that the student get. This is when the model is set on the stage, okay? But you have to save this into guide on the side in which there should be teacher-centered. Student should dominate the classroom. Okay, student talk much, teachers talk less. Okay, the other way around. Okay, and the other way around. Why is it so? To practice, to improve the critical thinking of the student, as I told you just now. Okay, by uttering the ideas, the opinion by the student, they are more critical. Okay, do not just listen. Yeah. Okay, 15 minutes my times. Okay. Now you see, because now the situation now, because of AI tool, whatever the AI with the DeepSeek, with the AI. Open AI, ChatGPT, whatever it is, but it's easy now for the student to get any information. Everything is given there, okay? Different from my time, long time ago, say about, let's say 20, 25 years ago, it was extremely difficult to get information. Books, for example, okay? I have to go to library with the manual catalogs, you see one by one, okay? And then we have to find out the stuff, then find out there. Then you go to photocopy center, then we have to read. It was very difficult at the time to get information. But now, because of AI tool, everything is given now. The question is that, do students today outperform students, say, about 15 or 25 years ago? Okay. What do you think? Is it, do students now, okay, perform better than, let's say, Okay, I say some of you like this, okay? Like this in India mean yes, okay? Are you going to say yes or are you going to say no, okay? Because we are Indonesian, this indicates no, probably, okay? No. Why is it so? The questions. Why students today, because of the internet, because of the mobile phone, because of the ease of to get information, students today do not outperform, okay? Do not outperform, are not better than students long time ago. Why is it so? This is the questions, okay? Okay. Now, the answers probably like this, okay? The next slide, over-reliance. Too much dependent on AI tool, okay? Ya, cari toko apa soto aja langsung AI yang dibuka gitu ya. Cari Indomaret terdekat aja sudah AI. So over reliance, too much dependence on AI. Everything depends on AI. So nothing here, okay? Nothing kept here. Knowledge is something over here, okay? Not knowledge, something on mobile phone. When everything information that you have over here, it means that there is no knowledge yet over here. Knowledge is something that you keep here, okay? I usually say, when somebody asks you, and to answer that question, you have to open this one yet, it means that you do not know yet. Okay, there is no knowledge over here yet. Okay. Over reliance. Okay, the second is superficial understanding. This is what I usually say, deep learning. This is just superficial. If I have to borrow the terms used by Chomsky, that's only surface structure, not deep structure. It is only superficial understanding, not deep understanding. This what is that? Surface learning, not deep learning. Okay, deep learning, you know everything about the detail, okay, and so on and so on. Okay. Cool. Okay. If something you say, something you write is superficial, it does not show that's real understanding. This is just, okay, superficial, okay, not real understanding, okay. And then when it is so, then this is very serious, okay. It indicates academic dishonesty. This is crime, okay. Plagiarism is crime. When you admit something belongs to you, but actually it does not, it belongs to AI tool, that's crime, okay? This belongs to, what's your name again? Edwin, this belongs to Edwin's, okay? But when I admit that this belongs to me, then that's crime, okay? This crime. Yeah, academic and honesty. Okay, so and so on. The last one is that this is my final remarks. Okay, my final remarks. Okay, that's okay. Making use of AI tool for any purpose, whatever the purpose, especially academic purposes, is not sinful. Okay, that's okay. Okay, that's okay, as long as it is used wisely. Okay. Yeah, this is the key. It is used wisely. I encourage everybody to use AI, but use it wisely and appropriately. Okay? And the essence of learning, teaching, learning is still there. Okay? Not just creating AI given to the student responded and do it through AI, that finish. The essence of teaching, learning is not there. You do not achieve the essence of teaching, learning. Okay. Number two is that making use of AI tool is good as long as, okay, this is what I say, the essence of teaching learning is still maintained there. Okay. It means that you still help the student to get something, to acquire something, so there's something there. Okay. So there's something here, not this, like this. So it's something over here. Always cross-check AI generated outputs, okay? Whatever AI tool you use, always check the accuracy against established sources, okay? Established sources, okay? Always check, because this one, to verify accuracy and identify erroneous information. So everything given is not 100% correct. You need to check, like apa? Check and recheck in Indosiar, okay? Okay. And then the third one, you will get different responses using the same prompts, okay? The same prompts given to these kinds of AI and to another kind, to DeepSeek, to OpenAI, to or whatever. So what is that? The output is different, okay? It's also different. All tools, okay, can generate output that can contain inaccuracies and fabrications. Okay, this is very the danger of AI tool when you rely 100% on AI. Okay. The next is you can ask AI for explanation to help you develop a better understanding for yourself. Just a reminder, okay? When you forget something, just scan. Okay, but you already know the detail, the deep understanding is already there. The last one, AI tool will not replace the need for you to develop your own knowledge and skill as an independent learner. Okay, the last one is thank you so much then. Okay, 15 minutes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor, for the insights. And we were sorry because you were in hurry to explain your material. But we had already got the points. I'm sure that everybody is very curious to give questions right now. And we're going to have like 2 questions for one online participant and one offline participant. If there will be no question from online participants, so it means that we only have one question, yeah, from the offline participant. Please. Okay. Anybody wants to? Okay, so maybe let me try to represent the question, Professor. And you said last time that it was our duty. It's our duty to minimize the use of AI in our teaching and learning. In the past, students in the past didn't use AI, but they can give like optimal results. But right now, the students, modern students use AI, and it should be. It was supposed to be having like more optimal results, right? The expectation, but practically, we have like lack of results. And what if we want to optimize and we want to have like as optimal as we use AI? Sorry, but we don't use it. I'm so sorry. We do not need to use it, but the results is as optimal as we use AI. Is it still possible for?
The keyword is that do not depend too much on something. Okay, do not depend too much on AI tool. Do not depend too much on anybody, but please rely or depends on yourself. Okay. The key is that knowledge is not anywhere. Okay, knowledge is over here. Okay, the word knowledge, okay, etymologically is from the word know. When you know already, it means that you have the knowledge. When I do not know, then you don't have the knowledge. So the key is knowledge. Okay, you have to learn. Learn means something to. Learning is the movement from not knowing to knowing. Okay. When from here you do not know, then after certain instructions, certain teaching, the students still do not know, then learning does not occur there. Yeah, do not occur. When you at the beginning of the lessons, then you do not know, then at the end of the lesson, then you know something, learning take placed there. Okay, I usually say, using AI tool is okay. It's okay. If it is possible, then you just encourage. But in teaching learning process, teachers should do teaching. Okay, teachers should do teaching. What is teaching? Facilitating learning to facilitating student. Facilitating means making something much easier. Okay. Okay, because something given to the student is not easy for everybody. For some student, this might be very difficult, so and so on. So make this much easier for the student. That the functions of teacher, the role of teacher, by helping them so that they acquire something. Okay? When do not acquire something, then the teaching is not successful. Then, okay? The teaching is not successful, and the learning is also not successful. Okay, so AI is just tool, media to help you. Okay, that's just sources of informations. Okay, AI does not teach you, but they just provide you with the information that you get much easier. Whether the information from AI tool go to your head over here, that's something else. That's something else. So the role of teacher make this, okay, move to this. Okay. Not this does not belong apa? It does not related anymore to score. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Okay. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, so Alhamdulillah, we are coming to the end of this session, everybody. Let me try to, in brief, conclude today's discussion that we can use AI, we can optimize using AI, but it's on our responsibility to use it in proper ways. Yeah. Thank you so much. We were so happy, yeah, to chair you in this kind of session, because we learned that most of you, all of you, like have a great enthusiasm to join this kind of, to participate in this kind of session. Okay, the last we say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Baik, terima kasih Bapak Ibu presenter ataupun peserta. Saat ini adalah untuk waktunya isoma, nanti silakan untuk keluar mengambil makan, kemudian sholatnya bisa di bawah.